And now, welcome to Danny Quest Radio.
Real live.
Welcome, good morning. Today is May 2nd, 2017. Today's guest is Luca Majno, the 9/11 shooter and a good friend of mine. I'm very happy to have you on, Luke. Also, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. We got major truth bombs that will be dropping all hour. All right. Good morning, Luke. Thanks for coming on.
It's a pleasure being here.
Good morning, everyone. I am here with my friend Luca Majno. Is that how it's pronounced, Luke? Majno?
Like the true Italian.
True Italiano. It's a pleasure to have you on the program this morning.
Pleasure being here.
Awesome. Luke is a very well-known activist and
Absolutely.
9/11 truther. He's also a good friend of mine and a member of the 9/11 Faces for Truth campaign. As soon as I get my equipment here set up properly, go ahead and get started. So Luke, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself this morning, brother?
Well, I'm living in a little tiny place called Keokuk in Iowa. It's part of the tri-state area where within 10 or 15 minutes drive, you're either in Missouri or Iowa or Illinois at the northwestern edge of Illinois. And I'm really lucky to be hooked up with people like you, Danny, and people like Claudio Marti and the Truth Movement, and people that just want to wake up a little bit and smell the coffee and find out what our government's all about, basically. And I'd like to throw out that joke about when you're in a relationship and you have to play detective all the time. You know, you don't know if the person's doing something or not, or what's going on, or that. You may as well forget it. That relationship is over when you have to start playing detective. Well, I've been playing detective with my government for the last 30 years. So that tells me where my government is at. And ever since I started, my thing was the genocide of the original people here, the Indian or the First Nations or the original people, whatever you want to call them. And it just went down the rabbit hole from there. And then when 9/11 happened, everything started the pieces of the puzzle started to come together. So I'm glad to meet people like you, Danny, and it's really important. I got to hand it to you for A, asking me to be on your show, and B, to have a show, because I'm into producing videos, and I'm working with the libertybeacon.com, which is probably one of the largest online news sources, accurate news sources in the world today. So awesome. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Amazing. Yes, I'm a fan of the Liberty Beacon. I do follow their broadcasts from time to time, along with was it Free Radio, Free American Radio?
I'm glad there are so many of them popping up. A lot of people didn't even hear about Awake Radio. I was on Awake Radio for about a year and a half, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for me. I had to push with video because I'm an editor as well. So I ended up being the editor and the director of audiovisual operations for TLB, the libertybeacon.com, and we're into some heavy stuff. It's one thing saying that that 9/11 was an inside job, right? But it's another when you know about sulfonated thermite And you know that the Israelis invented that because they had to learn how to blow up different bunkers and different nuclear stations. And, you know, they found out that thermite mixed with sulfur burns a lot quicker and a lot hotter. Things like that. And then you get into Barry Seal, and then you get into the CIA, and then you get into Phil Marshall, and then you get into, you know, who brought the drugs in the country and what wars aren't meant to be won, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's nonstop. It's nonstop. So this whole thing is about finding out what the truth is and exposing it to the point where they can't say anything.
Agreed. Trying to hit a critical mass. That's what I was describing in my last trip to Free Your Mind Conference 5 in Philadelphia. I had got a vendor's table for all the Faces of 9/11 Truth stuff. And,
no, good for you.
When I was describing the agenda to everyone, or the purpose of the marketing plan of the page, I was telling them that it's a lot like the 100th monkey experiment. That what we're trying to do is reach a point of critical mass that allows the average people to feel comfortable both pursuing 9/11 truth and being an activist and proponents of it and calling for a new investigation and these kind of things, which is really what it's all about. I think if you didn't go by the actual like news polls, which we know are slanted and generally use a very narrow base of people that they're polled, I think if you were to poll millennials or young Americans, Americans under 45 years old, that the majority of Americans right now will admit that the 9/11 story is at least suspicious, and I would say half would go as far as saying that the official narrative is a lie, which is obvious. I mean, when you've been in the game, when you've researched it as much as I have, it's obvious that it's a lie. But the majority of the public, I think, is reaching that point now that they're beginning to not only understand it but accept it on a subconscious level. On a conscious level, they're willing to accept it. Where before, I think a lot of people knew that 9/11 was inside job, a false flag operation, but they weren't willing to accept it. Now I think more people are willing to accept it because, one, there's less blowback on us. I don't feel like I wear my 9/11 truth stuff out and I don't get approached or attacked. Nobody has anything negative to say about me. Where for the first few years after the event, a lot of the more nationalistic people, those who weren't really acceptive of the alternative theories, were very aggressive, and I think that aggressiveness has kind of fizzled out.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another reason why I got kicked out of my conferences when I did them in schools in Canada too. It was the 60-plus-year-old teacher with the glasses down to the end of her nose, looking at me sideways, that got me thrown out of the conferences. It wasn't the 7, 8, 9, and 10-year-old kids that were sitting there looking at me like drooling because I was talking about stuff that was the truth finally, and they knew it. You could hear a pin drop when I was in my conferences giving them with the kids. They absolutely loved it. And it was the teachers that got me thrown out. I think there's a lot of rebelness. They're being rebels. They're being it's like they know intuitively that they're being lied to, that it's all BS. And that's what we have to grab a hold of. For example, my family, my brother works indirectly for Monsanto, and his son works for J.P. Morgan. So you may as well forget that, that whole side of the family. It's too bad.
You're basically George Soros.
That's just the way it is. And, the 17-year-old kid dressing up in a suit and tie, going to work for J.P. Morgan, that's whatever. That's, you have to accept. And there's something else that's really important too, is we don't have the right to force our stuff on people, because if we do, then we're no better than the people we're attacking or bitching about. We only have the responsibility to focus on the people that are interested in what's going on and that want to be woken up. And that's a hard one to swallow for for the average truther, I think.
It took me a while to learn that. I think for a long time, well, at the beginning of my truther career, when I was going through the anger and animosity phase, calling people sheep and yelling at them to wake up and feeling self righteous and all these things, I learned eventually that I shouldn't try to force my opinion on others, or basically to describe it, I shouldn't try to make other people feel stupid. Instead, I should just showcase my own intelligence and let them come to me. And that's really what I started doing. I started just making my own content instead of surfing the message boards and the forums and trying to comment on people and calling them stupid sheep because they don't believe, because they believe the official story. Instead, I would just write a whole article on one specific part that they had and publish that and post that.
Good for you. That's exactly. You're a lot more you're a lot more mature, a lot faster than I am. It took me a long time. I'm 58 years old. It took me a long time to figure that one out because I was so pissed off about the genocide that this country has done to the original people that lived in harmony and in balance with Mother Earth, the way we should be today. And that's why everything's backwards. And that's something that, never mind 9/11. 9/11 happened, and that just sealed my fate because it just proved to me, what we're up against. But then you go back and you find out that this is a chess game from Europe that they've been playing for the last ever since before the American Revolution. The Rothschild Zionists, the Rothschild family, have been playing this chess game from Europe, fueling both sides of every war since the American Revolution, since 1776. And this is the game they're playing. This is what's happening in the Middle East right now. This is what's happening in North Korea right now. Trump is on the phone every day with North Korea, finding out what we're going to do next. What's our plan of attack? How are we going to do this? Trump is on the phone almost every day with Putin because they have the Siberian oil field that they're interested in, and they're going to build a pipeline going all the way down to Seattle, Washington, and the west coast of the United States is going to become the biggest oil producer in the Western Hemisphere. This is what they want. This is all they're after. It's greed, it's power, it's control, and it's depopulation.
Yep. In Mother Earth vampirism. That's really what oil is, in my opinion. Oil is Gaia's blood, and we are sucking the blood out of Earth for greed and for temporary monetary gain.
Yes, and you can't run an engine without oil, right?
Right.
And that's what it's going to come down to. So they've done their homework. They know exactly what they're doing. And in my shows on TLV, on my shows, I have 3 words. And it goes back to those 3 words. No matter what you talk about, they don't care.
That's the truth, brother.
You talk about Monsanto. You talk about chemtrails. You talk about oil. You talk about Rockefeller medicine. Anything at all that you talk about, they don't care. Because they don't. They never have cared about the people ever. Ever, ever.
Yeah, I agree. So much do I agree.
So this is what we're up against. If think of the government as parents and think of the population as the kids. If the parents don't give a beep about the kids, then the kids are going to grow up not caring about each other. And that's exactly what's happening. We're destroying the fabric of society. We're destroying the culture fabric. Trump wants to build a wall to get us to hate Muslims. That's what 9/11 was all about in the first place. It's all about, putting people to sleep through drugs and through fake food and then playing with them.
Yep, manufactured division, my friend. Manufactured division. That's a weapon that they've used against us for a long time since they used to speak Latin. I just shared it yesterday. Orba Ad Chow, Order Out of
Uh,
Chaos.
Aldo Abkao. Yeah,
There it is.
yeah, yeah. And your listeners should research propaganda.
Yep.
You'll find somebody by the name of Edward Bernays who made up this quote, and it's on AZ quotes. It's on Google. I can't believe government's that stupid to have everything lying around. Um, Edward Bernays said that if you manipulate the public mind, you can get what you want out of them, and they'll be like sheep. You can do anything you want to them. Hitler said that. Goering said that. And this is the stuff you can research.
Indeed. That is a big part of what I do, is try to expose the control systems, especially the subliminal and propaganda
Yes.
based control systems.
Yeah.
Fifth Estate media. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term of the Fifth Estate, but essentially what I want to do as a journalist, my whole objective as a journalist is basically just to counter the mainstream narrative, to create counter propaganda so that at least we have an option, a choice of what we want to listen to instead of being force fed one narrative, which has been, it's primarily what's happened in America since its creation. Is we've been force fed a narrative from the elites, most particularly in the last 50 or 60 years post what was called Mockingbird, which was
Yeah.
a CIA program to infiltrate the media and put journalists inside of mainstream media organizations. At the time, it was the primary newspapers, and have people inside the main newspapers that were loyal to the government and willing to produce essentially Western nationalistic propaganda to,
Yeah.
you know, promote
Exactly.
imperialism. And that's what
See,
America's been doing for quite some time.
uh, Mockingbird was added a little further on when in 2003 a Florida court, and you can Google this, in 2003 a Florida court gave Fox News the right to lie, the right to make up news stories, the right to just make up stuff, propaganda, right? This is what this is all about. And then you find out that 96 or 97% of all the news media is owned by Israel. And then you find out that Rothschild created Israel in 1917 via the Balfour Declaration and paid for people to go inhabit Israel. It's all made up. It's all the big lie. This is what this is all about. Rothschild has two sons, basically, the United States and Israel. And there's a reason why America is Israel's bitch. That's what they say. That's what the joke is, because it's the rabbit hole just goes deeper and deeper and deeper all the time. So this is what I'm doing, and I'm really honored to be on the show with somebody that has so much knowledge about this, because I always say, because I'm into spirituality, I'm into the First Nations spirituality, which says that everybody is a specific color. I'm a certain color, you're a certain color. Let's say I'm red, you're purple, somebody else is green. It's about getting really, really good at what we know and what we want to teach other people, and the knowledge that we have. And everybody getting together of different colors makes the rainbow of knowledge that we need. So that's basically how I'm working, because I'm really good at what I do. And Danny, you're phenomenal with just in the last 20 minutes of listening to you of what you come out with, because it's stuff that I don't know about. Your big words scare me a little bit when I listen to you, but I'm really proud of being in circles like that, because
Hey man, I appreciate you having you on. You come very, very highly recommended. Anybody who Heather Suratek shares is 100% woke, because Heather is amazing, and anybody who she tells me is somebody who's aware and who's a proponent of truth, then I know it can be for sure. So I know already that you're out here doing big stuff, my brother, and I appreciate your help in this war for information too. And It's beautiful because never before in history has human beings had the potential and the resources to gain enlightenment and
Mm,
awaken as fast as we are right now. And I don't know how many people are truly aware of the fact that we are in the middle of a new renaissance where occult knowledge and hidden information, hidden history
mm.
is being revealed to us in ways and means never before seen. It's unprecedented how fast people are waking up and how much I've been able to learn and absorb from people just on social networks like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I mean, it's been an amazing tool for people like us. It really has. But on that note, censorship has been a major problem and it's getting worse. We have a lot in the digital activist community. We have a lot to contest with as far as algorithms, demonetization.
Mm.
Facebook recently changed some of their coding to now you can't share articles or you can't share posts that are in groups. Like if I post to a group, especially a private group, nobody can share that. Like there's no share button. I was talking about that yesterday. We
Yeah.
actually put out a post and said if anybody has any screen captures of Facebook taking the share button, and within 10 minutes there was probably 10, 15 different people who were sharing photos of the share button disappearing. So
Yeah.
we're being suppressed. Google's doing the same thing. Well, they're basically all ran by the same conglomerate, which is called Alphabet. Alphabet is another Israeli Zionist corporation,
Mm.
and they control YouTube. I want to say Twitter, um, and several other major social media platforms. And
Well,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Here's the scary part. Um, uh, I just can't believe that they haven't censored us completely, or that they haven't controlled the internet, or that they haven't, done something drastic. Because the scary part now is that that's the next move. I mean, if you follow everything logically, see what people don't understand. I'll say this real quick. And David Icke is awesome. He's absolutely awesome in this. He says that people like Tesla or like Bernays, or I'm trying to think of people that wrote books and stuff like 1984, George Orwell, people like that. That everybody thinks that they were prophetic, that they read the future. They didn't at all. They were schooled on how everything happened up until from point A to point B. So you're living at point B. Okay, so theoretically, everything's going to go from here on forward. They can actually pinpoint where it's going by knowing where it came from.
Yeah.
And David Icke explains that perfectly. And that's what's happening.
I think
Um,
Aldous Huxley is a good example of that.
yes, that's the one I was thinking of. So we have to really wake up really quick and use the internet, because they're talking about EMP strikes that would just wipe out everything electrical, and that's it, game over in less than 2 minutes. So um, we really need to wake people up and to share our knowledge as fast as we can. And if the share button doesn't work, you're on a post that you really like, you have a picture you want to share, shift print screen.
Mm-hmm.
Take a picture of it, go to shift and print screen, and then paste it into Paint, and you make a picture out of it. See, I'm playing with that all the time now, because I notice when I share articles, they don't show the picture of the article, they just show the link, and nobody's really interested in the link without a picture. So that's what I do.
Yep, I was just writing about that yesterday. Also, you can, where it says shared a photo, the photo, you can right click, copy link, and then post the URL onto your page, and that will share it as well. So there's always going to be ways to work around it. We could talk about Facebook Live as well. I had this
Mm,
conversation just 2 days ago with that murder that happened in Cincinnati, I believe, um, about them getting rid of live. But I don't think that they can, right? Because of the market. And what I mean by that is if Facebook was to get rid of the live feature, then another social network like Instagram or Snapchat or something like that would keep their live broadcasting and take people away from Facebook. So they're not going to do it because it will hurt their market share too much, which is
mm.
an interesting concept. It creates these philosophical debates between censorship and the free market. And like I don't really want to see people get murdered on Facebook. I never watched the video personally, and I still have not. I'm very. It's very hard to convince me most of the time that these things are real or not. So I try not to really get involved in them. But
Right.
it is a very very interesting dichotomy, the sense that we have this feature that allows us to live stream things instantly. It's great. It can protect us if we're in trouble or if the police are harassing us, but it can also live stream rapes and murders and stuff like that. So we have to be on our guard, in a sense, but we also have to appreciate the freedom that we're given to show the entire world something that's happening in real time in our lives, which is an amazing where we're at in technology right now.
You just hit on something, Danny. If we can back up a minute,
Of course.
uh, you just hit on something really, really good. And this is also, I learned this also from the native culture, the native wisdom. It's that uh, Tom, Dick, and Harry are not violent people, okay? The American person, if you want to just talk about this country, because this is where we live, American people are not violent, okay? The average person isn't going to take a sawed-off shotgun or an AR-15 and go into a dance hall and start shooting people. This is what people have to understand. This is fear-mongering. All of the false flags that happened, every single one of the false flags that happened were manufactured and invented by government. And if people can wrap their head around that, Google it. David Robert Steele. He's an Intel officer turned whistleblower, and he said every single terrorist, quote unquote, event in this country was a false flag event. I know it's nothing new to you, Danny, but if people can wrap their head around that, that will tell them automatically that everything that happened, from the Charleston murders to, San Bernardino, to the Boston bombing, to Waco, to Sandy Hook, these are all things that were made up. And I'm working on Columbine right now. And the person that I interviewed in my last show was in the same bomb-making school that Timothy McVeigh was. Okay? The person I interviewed recently he was briefed by the FBI 14 months before 9/11 happened, saying that it was going to happen. Okay? And they pointed to the desert, in Arizona or somewhere, I forget exactly what state it was, where the terrorists were being trained. So people have to really wake up and understand the how this works. We're not dangerous people. We're not violent people. We're people based on love, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be loving each other. We go 30 miles across town to visit people. We don't even know who lives next door. Okay, we're supposed to be loving one another and helping one another. And government has at least 500 years of experience of tearing us apart, pitting Tom against Harry, and this is what they want because that's going to help to control us finally. So that's really, really a big one. And I'm going to be, in my shows, I'm going to be talking about patriarchal systems versus matriarchal systems. Let me just show you the difference, okay, really quickly. In the matriarchal system, okay, they say climb the mountain and get their good tidings. Nature's peace will flow through you as sunshine flows into trees. The winds will blow their freshness into you, and storms their energy, and your cares will drop off like autumn leaves. Okay? Matriarchal societies say, oh, that we're being played, and to go and kill your neighbor and to go and buy a security system because everybody steals. Patriarchal societies also say, they're not comfortable with emotion, okay? Patriarchal systems like the military, they're not comfortable with emotion. Every emotion becomes a discomfort, and every uncomfortable situation becomes a threat. Okay, and that's one of the best examples I've seen yet. And they don't know what to do with emotional people, especially men. So that's what we're fighting against. It's a system that was built by church and state to destroy the family, to dehumanize women, to put women under the man's boot, and to destroy society. So the more we know about matriarchal societies, the better we're going to be off, I think. And that's what I do.
Awesome. All right, well, let's go to a song real fast and play some ads from our supporters, and we'll be right back. Give me 1 minute.
Did you know Washington is built on a swamp?
They don't have this on the West Coast, brother.
I'm running for president.
And under no circumstances will I ever apologize for America.
Bernie Sanders, husband, father, grandfather, and honestly,
The goal was to crack open the coconut, but neither Bill nor I could figure out how to get this really hard coconut to open.
Between my peanut butter and my homemade jam, we're going to be jamming down the road.
A government incredibly out of touch, and millions with traditional values branded bigots and haters.
We will make America great again.
All right, well, this song is not gonna play. All right, well, we're back, guys. We were just talking about matriarchal and patriarchal systems and how the elites have been controlling and manipulating our society since most of recorded history, and how they use things like the Hegelian dialectic and...
Oh, I love it. I love your words. Woohoo! That's a big one.
Yeah, the Hegelian dialectic, for anybody who's not familiar that's listening,
Wow.
That's problem, reaction, solution. Essentially, the way it works is, in order to get something that they want, the elites create a problem in order to get the reaction from us, and then they offer the solution, which is what they wanted the whole time. So, take example, if they want to put scanners, X-ray scanners in all the airports, what would you do? You're going to stick a bomb in somebody's underwear, have them get on the plane, and then catch them for it. And this is, you can go back and look it all up, and the FBI instigated, propagated the underwear bomber in order to have the Congress pass a law or a bill that gave the NSA permission to buy all these scanners, these X-ray human body infiltration devices. And of course, the company, the manufacturer of the X-ray DNA tear apart machines in the airports was a friend of government. So again, it's crony capitalism, where George Bush's cousin's best friend owns an X-ray company, and now he's a multi-billionaire because the FBI instigated this plan of problem, reaction, solution with the underwear bomber. That's definitely something I would suggest that all you guys look into.
Even 9/11 was a Hegelian dialectic,
Yeah,
because
doubt.
they prepared. Okay, 9/11 was an Israeli event, by the way. If you look under Rense.com, RENSE.com, you find the Rothschild timeline. Go to 2001 and you'll see, and I used to be able to quote it, but my memory is fading right now because it's so early in the morning.
It's all right.
It says that the 2001, the 9/11 event was a Rothschild event, ordered by them, and it was done by Israel, with the complicity of the United States and Britain, and it was to take away the freedoms of the people in exchange for for liberty and security. Anyway, you have to see that. And
I brought it up now. I'm going to make sure to include all the stuff in the notes.
Okay. These are things. Okay, so they prepared 9/11, and you have to prepare a demolition like that of 3 buildings a long time in advance, because there's proof, absolute proof now that there was sulfonated thermite in the buildings. I mean, you can see molten steel running down the sides of the building before the demolitions, and there's no possible way that jet fuel can even do that to anyway. There's so many things, but they prepared 9/11. They executed 9/11 to get a reaction of the people. Everybody freaks out. Oh my God, we got attacked. Let's go kill the terrorists. And that's exactly what they did. They went and attacked Iraq. That did nothing. Of course, we've been friends, and we've been training Saddam Hussein for what, since 1959?
Yep.
We've been really good friends with him. You can find a picture of Dick Cheney shaking his hand, or is it Rumsfeld? Or both, probably, right? It's absolutely ludicrous. So, and then from then on, it was like invading 7 countries in the next 5 years. Like there's clues all over the place, and you find out that Rothschild is behind all of it. So
yeah,
this is all about.
Are you familiar with the story of Qasem? I can't remember his first name, but the president of Iraq that Saddam Hussein attempted to assassinate with CIA weapons.
There you go.
His name was Qasem, and what he proposed to do, he's a democratically elected president of Iraq, and he said that he was going to nationalize the Iraqi oil, and that all the oil that came out of Iraq, the profits were to be split up amongst the Iraqi people.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the oil tycoons at the time, I guess it was probably a Rockefeller and the Rothschilds, etc.
Mm-hmm.
They, in 1971, 1972, implemented a coup in Iraq and replaced Qasem with Saddam Hussein, I believe.
Exactly. This is what they do. This is what they've always done. And then you've got Hillary Clinton sitting there on CBS, I think it was, in an 18-second clip where she talks about Gaddafi, and she laughs and she says, "Oh well, we came, we saw, he died."
Giggle,
and
giggle.
She laughs.
Yeah, I seen that. It's sick, brother. We
have
live in a sick world with these tyrannical elites.
You have to play that clip like 3 or 4 times to really get the feel of it, And when you see stuff like that, and then you see what Gaddafi wanted to do, I'm not prepared to say that Assad was the same gentle person and that he never did anything, okay? But everybody's playing together. Everybody is enjoying the game. They all have something to gain from it. They're all in it together. And all these, these things you hear like immigration and all that stuff, it's all engineered. Yeah. They want to get the people out of there so they can blow the place up to kingdom come with all the depleted uranium munitions that the United States used just in the Gulf War by itself. I'm going to give you a figure, 350 tons of depleted uranium just in the Gulf War by itself. You got to see that video by Doug Rock, Rokke, on YouTube. That'll give you a good idea of what we're doing in the Middle East. Doug Roque, I say Rock, but my last guest said Roque. He's a medical doctor. He doesn't remember. He lost count of how many kidney operations he's had because his body was totally destroyed by the depleted uranium munitions that they were told to go clean up by Schwarzkopf. Okay, so he's got the figures. He's got an incredible, I think it's a 57 or 59 minute presentation on depleted uranium on YouTube. Something else I can't believe that's on there. I downloaded it and I just tore it apart. because it's so important. And this is what they want, because they want to make something called Greater Israel, the Greater Israel Project, called Eretz Israel, which is from the Euphrates down to the Nile. It's going to be the Greater Israel Project. And this is what everybody's playing this. You have to wonder why nobody bombed Israel yet. How come nobody bombs Israel, right? So.
Well, did you see the article that my partner Kat Ferris put out just last week? That on at least one occasion, ISIS, the Islamic State, if you will, put out a public letter. They released a letter on their propaganda website apologizing to Israel for attacking their fucking soldiers.
Right, and who runs Israel?
The Rothschilds.
How come you see pictures of John McCain, with ISIS?
Yep.
Okay, it was, they're all invented. Al Qaeda was invented. A guy living in a cave on dialysis did not do 9/11. I'm sorry, right? The hijackers that ran the planes were Saudis. They were Saudi extremists that were not planning on.
I'll call him back.
There we go.
All right, we're back, gentlemen.
I thought that was interesting. I just got cut off right at that time.
It happens sometimes. Skype is not the most dependable system.
No. But it was right when I was saying that the attackers, piloting the planes were radical Saudis. I thought that was interesting because Saudi Arabia paid for 9/11 anyway. So, but I encourage people to go to my YouTube channel and or follow my articles on thelibertybeacon.com. Luca Majno, Majno. And I thank Danny Quest from the bottom of my heart for the plug. Possibility.
It's no problem, my friend.
People have to wake up. People have to wake up. And we're supposed to be spiritual beings. We're supposed to be living the polar opposite of what we're living today.
I agree.
And you see a couple today in their 20s going out for coffee, and all they're doing, they both have their iPhones out. They're facing each other. They have their iPhones and they're iPhoning. They're typing or they're messaging. They're not even talking anymore.
Yep, I agree.
And this is what they want. They want to break up the fabric of humanity and pit us one against the other. And there's so many people that are asleep that,
That's what keeps them in control, is keeping us fighting and warring amongst ourselves. It makes it so that we can never look up to how we're being manipulated and controlled. And there's so many levels. And dumbed down, particularly dumbed down
by Rockefeller medicine. People need to see that 9-minute video on YouTube called, well, it might be in another order, but in the title, there's Rockefeller, FDA, and cancer. It's a 9-minute video. It's an absolute must to see that, because that's where the rabbit hole started in the early 1900s, what they did to medicine, what they did to natural healing remedies. They banned them, and that's where the FDA started. That's where Monsanto started. That's where all the fake food that we're eating now started from. It's really, really important to see that video. I really recommend it very strongly. I don't know who made it, but it's absolutely awesome.
There's one by James Corbett. It's called Rockefeller Medicine. I don't know if that's the same one, but I will add that to the patch notes. And
it's just music. It's just music, and it's written on the screen. The words are written on the screen. It's 9 minutes long.
I'll make sure.
Rockefeller, FDA, and cancer.
I'll make sure to include the link in the description.
Yeah.
There's something I wanted to talk to you about. These are only hour-long broadcasts. We have 15 minutes left.
Yes. That went by fast.
I was reading about Native American end times prophecies.
Yes.
And some of the things that they said were very interesting. That the Hopi predicted that a spider woman would weave webs all around the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what that says to me is that they foresaw power lines,
telephone lines,
wires, power lines. Like, how would you describe that? Hundreds of years ago, if you had this vision, this prophetic vision, that would be the only way you could the black snake. That's where I was headed, and that is that's the oil pipelines.
Yeah, and they know. See, and if you really want to talk about Standing Rock for a second, that's another good example, because Standing Rock, with native spirituality and the power of prayer. Okay, let's go back to maybe the 1800s, early 1900s, I suppose, but it went downhill from there because of the residential schools and because of the genocide. But if you stay in the 1800s for a minute, the power that they had spiritually and in gatherings together, if that power would have been at Standing Rock, they would have been able to make the hoses malfunction. They would have been able to make the police turn around and scream and yell and run away, just through prayer. That's how powerful prayer is. But see, that didn't happen because government knows that they've lost it. They've lost most of it, and there was ego up there. There were even people going up there for not sexual maniacs, but predators were going up there just to see if they can get anything. Nobody was listening to the grandmothers or the grandfathers or the elders. It was chaos, and that's why Trump succeeded with the army going in there, on unarmed water protectors. And then if you go even deeper in that, you find out, the Williston Basin. What's the Williston Basin? The Williston Basin is one of the largest oil deposits of, natural gas and shale gas right underneath North Dakota, South Dakota, and northeastern Montana. It's huge. And they've been drilling there since the 70s anyway. But that's what Trump is after. That's why they want to clear the Indians. That's why you saw those, that heavy army presence. Where does the army presence come from? Israel's Mossad training them. Really? Yep. Yeah. The dogs. The dogs were from G4S. What's G4S? Israeli security firm taking care of the problem with the Palestinians. Okay. They're a security firm that works for Wall Street also. Forbes 500. Yep. You've got to do your research. That's where all this is tied into.
The Blackwater guys now, the head military advisor for Qatar.
There you go.
Qatar's
Blackwater.
Blackwater
and Monsanto are hooked up too. Everybody's doing their thing. Everybody's making sure that the average guy, the average Joe like you and me, won't. We're totally powerless. And if you don't know, see. In my last broadcast, very quickly, I started with the intro. I don't know, it must have been an insightful moment that I had. But what I said in the intro was that these shows that we do, like Danny's doing, and I know I can say this for Danny, and I'm pretty brave, but I can say it. It's that we're coming out with shows like this for people that don't have the time to research like we did. And we're trying to put people up to speed as fast as we can with the stuff that we know so that we can cut corners for you, so that we can tell the truth about things that propaganda just rips apart. And that's why shows like Danny's are so important.
Hey, thanks, man. And you really did just hit the nail on the head there, because that's exactly what I want to do. I don't know if I told you my philosophy before, but I describe it as the 3 E's, right? The 3 E's of my life, and it's education, economics, and entertainment. And I feel if I can educate people, entertain, and employ them, then I can take their minds and bodies and hearts back from the government, and back from the state, back from the indoctrination, And it's a lot easier, in my opinion, to be educated if it's entertaining. You know, nobody wants to listen to a monotonous, you know, data-driven.
One guy reading from the script, and you know, I've actually heard people like that.
Right.
And you know, on the other side of the scale, people like Infowars. What's his name?
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. Yeah, I stopped listening to him because I don't like listening to people that yell and scream and say all kinds of stupid stuff. But I really suggest people go. You know, even David Icke, when he talks about reptilians and stuff like that, he kind of loses me. But it's not the messenger that's important. It's the message. If the message touches you and if it resonates inside you, then the message is for you.
Right.
And David Icke has some phenomenal messages to give us on Agenda 21, on social, what was it, humanism. He's got these big words. Anyway, it's the elephant in the room is probably one of his best to explain people about Rothschild Zionism and what Zionism is. The Elephant in the Room, it's called. Go Google it or go to YouTube and find it.
I'll add that in the patch notes. Definitely one of my favorites. One of the...
Yes. He nails it. He explains how Rothschilds created it. He explains the difference between Jews and Zionism. They're completely different, polar opposites.
That's important in this battle too. I mean, maybe I'm gonna touch on that briefly. We don't have very much time, but
you have to know your enemy. You have to know your
exactly.
enemy, and you have to keep them close.
And there's a big difference between the world of Judaism and the world of Rothschild Zionism and Talmudic Judaism and
it's very complicated.
Khazarian.
It's enough to turn anybody off, you know. But you have to go with what resonates with you, what your passion is, what you feel is good for you, and what you can connect with.
I met Mr. Max Egan recently. I met Max in Philadelphia. And he's probably one of my favorite people when it comes to describing and understanding the difference between Judaism and Zionism. And how it's imperative. It's truly important that we as activists, especially anti-imperialists, anti-Zionist, pro-Palestinian activists, it's very important that we learn to differentiate between Rothschild Zionism and Jewish people, especially.
Well,
go ahead.
All you have to do is find out in German what Rot and what Shield means. It's the Red Shield, and then you find out that Rothschild started with the Red Shield. Actually, it was Bauer for a last name, but they changed it to Rothschild, Rothschild, which means the Red Shield. And you see that they used that shield painted in blue for Israel when they created Israel. So everything falls into place when you go in the right place. And I'm really, really proud to have, you know, Danny having shows like this. I'm even more proud to be a part of them.
Yep, it's just the next phase of what I want to do. And everybody, all the people that I look up to, as far as like Mark Passio, David Icke, Max Egan, a whole bunch of other people, you know, Rogan, they all have radio shows. You know, so it's kind of, I understand that they're, as a younger person, my birthday's coming up next week, man. I turned 31 years old. And
oh, mine's May 31st.
I just understand somehow that there's a need. Not, you know, economically there's a market need for a young truther radio host because most of the radio hosts are older. And also, like, as far as an impact, I feel, you know, when I look at everything and when I try to weigh the variables and how can I make the largest impact on this world? How can I bring truth to the most amount of people? How can I speak truth to power? It's doing this. I'm buying some equipment this week. I'm going to get a new microphone, some software that's going to allow me to actually do a live stream radio broadcast, if not daily, at least one or two a week. and hopefully I can grow from that. You've known me for a while, Luke, and I do a lot as for content creation. I write articles, I make videos, I make memes. I got a website, all this stuff. Go
I
ahead.
see two things. Danny, I see two things. I don't want to interrupt you, but I got to say this real quick. I see two things. One is your importance for young people, because the young people are going to see a young person or younger person doing what you're doing. That's number one. That's the magnet. The other thing is not to burn yourself out. And that is crucial. People are going to say, oh, no, I won't burn. You better believe it. If you push too hard, too fast, that's what happens. It catches up to you from behind. So it's a matter of, go out to nature, go out and breathe in the stuff that you're supposed to be living. Enjoy yourself. Deflate every once in a while and clear the air. And, you'll last twice as long at least. Because it's a big battle that we got to face. It's going to get nasty very quick.
Yep. Well, I am the Archangel Gabriel, my brother. I was built for this fight. I am just the sons and daughters of light. Are you familiar with that story? The
yes,
tribe.
David and Goliath too. Yeah.
It's really like I have an objective on this world that's way bigger than ego. It's bigger than my own personal desires. I have a universal calling, and what I mean by that is that there's I can't remember. I think it was an Orwell quote where he said that writing a book is some kind of strange desire, or like one has to be almost mad to pursue it, and that's how I feel at times. That
absolutely, the mad scientists, those are the people that make the most sense. And there's a quote for don't be a conspiracy conspiracy theorist, be a conspiracy realist.
Right.
Okay. There's a quote on conspiracy theorists now that they're the sanest ones. I thought that was really cool.
I feel like I'm constantly in the middle as a journalist, somewhere between the normies and the conspiracy theorists. Mm. I mean, I like conspiracy theories, but I don't focus on the conspiracies as much as I used to. I like to deal with that which I can actually address,
Yes. Yes. And choose your battles wisely.
Right.
That's another really important thing. Instead of being half-assed at a whole bunch of stuff, narrow it down, focus on the stuff that you're really good at, and perfect yourself in those areas. And then when people call on you, like you called on me this morning, we can shine together.
Yes. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Mm-hmm. Couldn't agree more, my brother. Well, thanks for being on, my man. It was a nice hour there to have on. I really appreciate you being a guest. I'm gonna go through all this now, and I'm gonna make sure to add all the patch notes and add some nice some video footage to it to make it look good. Cool. While we have a couple minutes, go ahead, Luke, and let all my followers, let all the people who are listening now and who will be listening later know where they can get a hold of you and what you'll be up to in the next few weeks.
Well, it's going to get really heavy really quick because of the fact that, you can Google him. His name is Frank Gregory Ford. He's the only person to take his own government to court for torture, because his own government, the United States government, tortured him in Iraq for not letting up on his threat to bring light to the weapons of mass destruction that he found in Iraq in a bunker with U.S. Army stamps all over them, courtesy of Dick Cheney and Halliburton and Bush. Okay, so he was injected with MK Ultra drugs, strapped to a stretcher, et cetera, et cetera. So he's my guest on 2 shows. I'm on thelibertybeacon.com. It's Luca Majno, Majno. I have my own YouTube channel, God willing, creator willing, for as long as I can. My videos are up there for the the shows I'm going to be doing. My show is called Learn to Unlearn. You can also find me on Facebook as well. Or you can, email me directly at majnoluca@gmail.com. And it's a pleasure. Or you can even find me through Danny, because the truthers are always together under the logo of our little profile picture with 9/11 Truth banner. And Claudio Marti, thanks to Claudio Marti, we have to get him
Yeah,
out.
shout out to Claudio. Claudio, if you listen to this later, you're the man, Claudio. I love you, brother.
We have to give credit where credit is due, because Claudio always says that, opinions are like a-holes. Everybody has one, okay? And you have to talk truth. You cannot talk opinion. If you can't talk about something without having a backup and without having proof that it's there, you don't touch it. You don't go for the gravy. You go for the meat and potatoes, okay? And this is what he says. And he keeps me in line all the time. And we have to give him credit for it, because he's one of the people, and you're one of the people, Danny, that are whipping my butt so I can be sharp and I can be real good at what I do, because we don't have time to waste anymore. So I hope we can do another one of these shows again, and it's my pleasure to be on, and I can't thank you enough for the plug.
No problem at all. It wasn't just me. I asked people on a Facebook status update one day. I said, I'm starting a radio show. Who should I have on as guests? And there was probably 3 or 4 people who told me to bring you on. So I had to do it. There was no...
I was one of those people too. I said, I'd love to be part of your show. This is it. It's not about ego, okay?
No.
It's not about me. In leaving you real quick, there's a perfect quote. His name was Uncas. And for people who saw The Last of the Mohicans, the movie, you saw who he was. His name was Uncas. He was Mohican. And he has a quote that says, "This heart of mine, it's not mine, it's yours." And that's how we have to live. It's not about ego. It's not about me. It's about the collective. And Danny, you even touched on that without even knowing it when you said that. It's not about ego. It's really important.
Yeah, this is for everyone else, man. It's for us. It gives me something to do, but really it's for you, the viewing audience. It's about empowerment through education. And it's about education through entertainment. So the whole idea, Luke, is to be entertaining, right? To be daily emotionally gratified, not instantly gratified. Our society, we want instant gratification. We want to buy shoes and we want to have sex. We don't want to feel great every day. So what I want to do is wake up. I want to be entertaining. And through my entertaining, I want to educate. And through that education, I want to empower. And through that empowerment, I want people to be able to have the type of things that they want in their life, both spiritually, physically, mentally, financially. It's all there for us, but we have to wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, everyone.
Man, I'm going to say it like Claudio would say, you wouldn't last 5 minutes in politics.
All right, my brother. Well, that was a great show. I appreciate having you on. I'm sure I will have you on again sometime.
Cool. So send me a copy of it if you can.
Of course I will. I'll upload it to YouTube and then send you a copy. I'm gonna add a couple of things. I still got to do some editing. I don't do them live, so.
Yeah, send me a link. Yeah, I don't do them live either through Zoom. I really don't. So
awesome.
Maybe I'll have you on Zoom as a guest with me. That would be awesome.
Let's do it.
The same thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Like we just did.
Yeah, but
with
Zoom.
You don't mind showing your face?
No, I don't mind at all. I just don't have my camera. I'm actually in. Some of the things that I'm purchasing this week is a microphone, a camera, and the streaming software. So I'll be able to do everything.
Well, the camera that I have, it's a Logitech. I forget the freaking name of it. It's a Logitech. All you need is 720. You don't have to get 1080. It's not necessary. 720. It costs maybe $21 at Walmart, and they're really, really good. And that's what I'm using for Zoom, because using my iPhone is too big and it's too heavy for a file. So.
Awesome, Luke. All right, well, let me let you go, brother. It's been a great show. It's a beautiful day. Again, it's May 2nd, 2017, and this concludes today's audio broadcast. This is episode 5 of my yet-to-be-named radio show, the Truther broadcast, Danny Quest radio show. You guys have a lovely evening, and don't forget that you are beautiful, you are powerful, and you are free. See you next time.